You picked Alex Smith instead of Aaron Rodgers because he was too arrogant.
The Packers step to the podium and take the successor to Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers.
With the 24th selection in the 2005 NFL Draft, the Green Bay Packers select Aaron Rodgers, quarterback of California.
Oh my, that may be one of the great throws ever made. Moving to his left.
Rodgers will have the luxury to go play Brett Favre in Green Bay.
What if I told you that one of the most gifted quarterbacks in NFL history might have won 5 Super Bowls instead of just 1? That a player who threw for over 59,000 yards and 475 touchdowns could have achieved so much more? Well, today, we're going to be diving deep into the career of Aaron Rodgers and exploring that tantalizing question: what could have been? Aaron Rodgers entered the NFL in 2005 as a first-round draft pick with sky-high expectations. The Green Bay Packers saw something special in the California quarterback, trading up in order to select him 24th overall. What followed was an 18-year career filled with incredible highs, frustrating lows, and endless what-if scenarios that still haunt football fans today. From his early years sitting behind Brett Favre to his recent stint with the New York Jets, Rodgers' journey has been anything but ordinary. But for all his individual accolades, 4 MVP awards, a Super Bowl championship, and countless jaw-dropping throws, there is an underlying sense that his legacy could have been even greater. When Aaron Rodgers was drafted in 2005, he knew that he wouldn't be starting immediately. Brett Favre was still firmly entrenched as Green Bay's starter, coming off another Pro Bowl season. For 3 years, Rodgers watched, learned, and waited. This period was crucial for his development, but it also represents our first major what if. What if Rodgers had been drafted by a team where he could have started immediately? Teams like the San Francisco 49ers, who passed on their hometown hero, or the Miami Dolphins, who desperately needed a quarterback. Consider this: Peyton Manning and Tom Brady both started as rookies or in their second seasons. By the time that Rodgers finally got his chance in 2008, he was already 24 years old, the same age that Manning was when he won his first Super Bowl. Those 3 years of apprenticeship, while valuable for his development, also cost him precious time in his prime. But perhaps more importantly, what if the Packers had handled the Favre situation differently? The awkward transition created unnecessary drama and divided the fan base. A cleaner handoff might have given Rodgers a better foundation to build upon. When Rodgers finally got his shot, he didn't disappoint. After a rocky 2008 season, he exploded onto the scene in 2009, throwing for over 4,400 yards and 30 touchdowns. But it was the 2010 season that truly announced his arrival. That magical 2010 championship run was everything that Packers fans had dreamed of. Rodgers led Green Bay to a modest 10-6 regular season record, but then caught fire in the playoffs. His performance in Super Bowl 45 against the Pittsburgh Steelers was masterful. 24 of 39 for 304 yards and 3 touchdowns, earning him Super Bowl MVP honors. But here's where the what could have been narrative really begins. From 2011 to 2014, Rodgers was arguably the best quarterback in football. He won MVP awards in 2011 and 2014, posting incredible efficiency numbers. His 2011 season was statistically one of the greatest ever. 4,643 yards, 45 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions, and a 122.5 passer rating. Yet, despite this individual brilliance, the Packers couldn't get back to the Super Bowl. They lost heartbreaking playoff games, often due to factors beyond Rodgers' control. The 2014 NFC Championship game against Seattle stands as perhaps the most painful example. Let's focus on that 2014 NFC Championship game for a moment, because that perfectly encapsulates the what could have been theme of Rodgers' career. The Packers led the Seahawks 16-0 at halftime and 19-7 with just over 2 minutes remaining. They were literally 2 minutes away from another Super Bowl appearance. What happened next was a collapse of epic proportions. Seattle scored 15 points in just 44 seconds, including a successful onside kick recovery and a go-ahead touchdown run from Marshawn Lynch. The Packers ultimately rallied to force overtime, but then lost on the first possession. Rodgers played well enough to win, completing 19 of 34 passes for 178 yards and a touchdown. But questionable coaching decisions, defensive breakdowns, and special teams failures cost them the game. If they had held on to win, they would have faced the New England Patriots in Super Bowl 49, a game many believe the Packers were better equipped to win than Seattle was. Plus, I don't know, maybe Green Bay would have actually run the ball. One of the most common criticisms of the Packers during Rodgers' tenure was their inability to surround him with elite talent, particularly on defense. While Rodgers was putting up video game numbers, the defense was often struggling to get stops when it mattered most. Now compare this to his contemporaries. Tom Brady had elite defenses for multiple Super Bowl runs. Peyton Manning's championship teams had strong defensive units. Even Ben Roethlisberger's early success came with the help of historically good defenses. What if the Packers had been more aggressive in free agency? What if they had drafted better on the defensive side of the ball? From 2011 to 2016, Green Bay's defense ranked in the bottom half of the league in multiple key categories. And during that same span, Rodgers was playing at an MVP level almost every season. The receiving corps was another area of concern. After Jordy Nelson's prime years, Rodgers often had to elevate mediocre receivers. Imagine if he had played with elite weapons like Calvin Johnson, Antonio Brown, or DeAndre Hopkins during their primes. Perhaps no factor impacted Rodgers' legacy more than injuries. The most devastating came in 2017, when he suffered a broken collarbone in Week 6 against the Minnesota Vikings. The Packers were 4-1 at the time, and they looked like legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Rodgers missed most of the season, returning briefly in Week 15 before re-aggravating the injury. The Packers finished 7-9 and missed the playoffs entirely. Given how well they had started that season, it is reasonable to assume that they would have made the playoffs with a healthy Rodgers and possibly made a deep run. The 2018 season brought another injury concern when Rodgers suffered a knee injury in the season opener against Chicago. Now, while he played through it heroically, throwing for 286 yards and 3 touchdowns in a wild comeback victory, the injury clearly affected his mobility for much of the season. These injuries cost Rodgers prime years of his career. At 33 and 34 years old, he was still in his athletic prime, but he lost crucial opportunities due to circumstances beyond his control. Another factor that may have limited Rodgers' success was coaching instability. After winning the Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy, the Packers stuck with him for nearly a decade. Now, while McCarthy deserves credit for that championship, many argued that his offensive system became stagnant and predictable. The relationship between Rodgers and McCarthy grew increasingly strained over the years. Rodgers was known for audibles and improvisation, while McCarthy preferred a more structured approach. This philosophical difference may have cost the team opportunities to maximize Rodgers' unique talents. When Matt LaFleur took over in 2019, there was renewed optimism. LaFleur brought a more modern offensive system that seemed better suited to Rodgers' skill set. The results were immediate. Back-to-back 13-win seasons and consecutive NFC Championship game appearances. But what if this change had happened earlier? What if the Packers had moved on from McCarthy after the 2016 season, when they blew another NFC Championship game lead, this time against Atlanta? Those lost years under a stale offensive system represent another major what-if in Rodgers' career. The end of Rodgers' Green Bay tenure was messy and unfortunate. After winning back-to-back MVP awards in 2020 and 2021, he forced his way out of Green Bay in a trade to the New York Jets. The move was supposed to be the final chapter of his career, a chance to bring a championship to a franchise that hadn't won one since 1969 under Joe Namath. Instead, it became another what could have been moment. Just 4 plays into his Jets debut, Rodgers suffered an Achilles injury that ended his season. The Jets, who had built their entire 2023 strategy around him, collapsed without their franchise quarterback. The 2024 season has been better for Rodgers individually, but the Jets have struggled to live up to championship expectations. At 40 years old now, time is running out for Aaron Rodgers to add another Super Bowl to his legacy. So this raises the question, what if Rodgers had stayed in Green Bay? The Packers have remained competitive with Jordan Love, suggesting that they may have been able to make another championship run with their future Hall of Fame quarterback. Well, despite all the what-ifs, we can't ignore what Aaron Rodgers actually accomplished. His career statistics are staggering. Over 59,000 passing yards, 475 career touchdown passes, 4 MVP awards, 10 Pro Bowl selections, career passer rating 103.6, and the best touchdown-to-interception ratio in NFL history. These numbers put him in the conversation with any quarterback who has ever played the game. But they also highlight the gap between individual excellence and team success. Rodgers has been consistently elite, but he has only one Super Bowl championship to show for it. Aaron Rodgers' career is a fascinating study in talent versus circumstance. He possessed all the physical tools and mental acuity to be the greatest quarterback of all time. His arm strength, his accuracy, and his ability to make throws that others couldn't even attempt put him in rare company. Yet, for all of his individual brilliance, the team's success never quite matched his personal achievements. Whether it was injuries, coaching decisions, supporting cast limitations, or just bad luck, something always seemed to prevent him from reaching his full potential as a champion. In the end, Aaron Rodgers will be remembered as one of the most talented quarterbacks to ever play the game. But he will also be remembered as someone who, despite all his gifts, couldn't quite capture the ultimate prize as often as many expected. The question, what could have been, will forever be attached to his legacy. And perhaps that's the most fitting tribute to a player whose career was defined by both brilliance and missed opportunities. Now, what do you think? Could Aaron Rodgers have won more Super Bowls under different circumstances? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the NFL's most fascinating careers, well then make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.